Howdy. It's been a little while since I posted a video. Honestly, January was a really bad month for me. Yeah, not gonna go into it. Just a lot of stuff going on in my personal life and like everything going on. I'm already exhausted just thinking about it. So yeah, I just didn't film a ton during this past month, which is sad because I kind of had a goal where I was going to try and post at least once a week, but realistically that's just not feasible all the time. So yeah, anyway, even though I had like a pretty bad month, I actually read a decent amount of books. So I decided to do like a wrap-up reading video. But yeah, I just want to share what I read for the month of January. So I read 10 books. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my like notes here. Y'all, when I immediately sit down to film is whenever the animals in my house just go nuts. So if you hear things and things start looking chaotic, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah. Out of the 10 books I read, 4 were historical romances, 2 paranormal romances, 1 mafia romance, 1 self-help, 1 taboo / dark romance, I guess, and 1 young adult fantasy book. And out of those 10 books, I DNF'd 2 of them. Kinda, sorta. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and like get into the books that I DNF'd. I actually feel really bad about this, but I DNF'd a historical romance called Never Now by Lyndsey Dee. So part of me feels really bad for posting this. Also because I didn't talk about this on my Bookstagram account. Like I didn't even bother posting about this book. The reason why I did that is because this is a new author, and this author sent me this book for free to like review, and I didn't like it. And yeah, I don't know if that's shady to like just not review stuff or like not post a full review but then still talk about it a little bit on social media. The reason why I didn't post about it on my Bookstagram is because since this is a new author and it's her very first book, I don't really want to slander it because, like, you know, maybe this is like the author's first time writing and it's obviously the first time that they've published a book. So just because this book, in my opinion, is bad or whatever, that doesn't mean that like other people might not enjoy it. And I really want the author to like have the chance for people to read the book. But yeah, so basically, I'm not gonna go too much into like what this book was about. I was really enjoying this for like probably like the first half of the book, and I thought it was gonna be like a 5-star read. But towards the end, there is a very drastic mood shift. Like the complete mood of the book just completely did like a 360 to me, and it completely pulled me out of the romance, and it actually made me kind of angry while reading. Basically, the hero in this makes like a choice that I really didn't agree on. And then all of a sudden we're giving a bunch of chapters where it's basically only from the hero's perspective. And I mean, I like reading dark historical romances, but most of the book kind of felt pretty light and not very heavy. And then all of a sudden, like near the end of the book, it's complete like mood shift to where it gets really bleak. And so I was like, man, I really don't want to read all these chapters from this hero perspective whenever we don't even know what's going on with the heroine. I guess, spoiler alert, like a handful of the characters die. Like that's how like drastic the mood change was for this, or in this. And yeah, so I kind of DNF'd it. Basically what I did is that I just skimmed and read really fast. So I know what happened. And yeah, I did not like it. But I didn't want to leave like an actual written bad review for this author because again, this is her first book and she sent it to me for free. So I don't know. I would like your guys' like opinions on like how you would handle that situation. Like if you would just go ahead and leave the bad review. Because a part of me just feels like bad about that. I don't know. Anyway. Next book that I like kind of sort of DNF'd was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I listened to this on audio and I don't have the cool editing software where I can just plug in a photo of the cover. But yeah, so basically what happened is that I'm a dingus and I didn't realize that my library hold was expiring. So yeah, I got about 70% of the way through on the audiobook and then my hold expired and I'm like the 7th person in line to read it. So yeah, basically I didn't even explain about this book. So the reason why I picked this up is because there's a booktuber named Heather and I think her channel, if I remember correctly, is called Heather's Happily Ever Afters. I'm gonna post her channel and like one of her videos in the description. But yeah, she's just like a smaller booktuber, and she started a book club. And basically the theme of the book club is like books having to do with having a happily ever after. So it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like pretty heavily like romance based. And yeah, I noticed that like the book that she picked was a young adult fantasy romance. And y'all, I think I've talked about this in past vlogs. I have trouble reading both fantasy books and young adult books, but I wanted to join her book club and I was like, look, I'm gonna give this a shot. And I'm really disappointed in myself because I was actually really enjoying this book. Yeah, and then I'm just an idiot and like didn't pay attention to when my hold is expiring. So this is basically like a DNF for now. Once my hold goes through, which probably won't be towards the end of February at this point, then I'm gonna go ahead and finish it. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and just go in order of the books that I had read. I read The Hellion's Waltz by Olivia Waite. This cover's gorgeous. As you can see, it is a sapphic historical romance, which this is my first sapphic historical romance that I ever read. And I was a little disappointed. So I rated this a 3 out of 5 star. It wasn't bad. It was just pretty boring in my opinion. It's also the 3rd book in a series. So, but you don't have to like read the books in order. I don't even know if the books have any connection besides that they're all like sapphic. Yeah, basically, it was really interesting because the heroines in this book, they're both from like a working class. So like one, I believe, was like, I can't remember. They're both working class girls. So it was really nice to read about people that weren't a part of like the aristocracy. It was also very diverse. There was, the book was implying that there was a romantic relationship forming between an interracial couple. There was also a polyamorous couple in this book, where it was like one of the heroines' roommates. They were actually just like a triad, right? Triad polyamorous couple. Yeah, so lots of diversity, but the author really went into... I'm so sorry if you can hear that. The cat is going crazy. But yeah, it basically, the author really went into detail about the type of work that the heroines do, and I was like, I would kind of just start to space out whenever I was listening to the audiobook. Kitty! One of the heroines, her family like repaired pianos and other musical instruments, and then one of the other girls, I think she was like a seamstress or something like that. And I was like, I don't really care about the mechanics of how a piano works. I don't know. Yeah, it was just kind of me for me, but I'm definitely still going to check out the rest of the books in this series. just because, like, even though I wasn't super interested in the plot, I did love the romance between the heroines. I loved the chemistry, the sexual tension. It was really, really good. And yeah, so I'm definitely going to check out the other books in the series. The next book that I read was In Bed with the Earl by Christi Caldwell. Again, this cover is so beautiful. I own this series. It's 3 books in this series, so it's pretty short, and I think it's called like The Lost Lords of London. The first book in the series, which I think is called In the Dark with the Duke? In the Dark with the Duke, yeah. That's actually a 6-star read for me. Like, it's one of my favorite historical romances I ever read. I think at the time whenever I posted about it on Bookstagram, I only gave it 5-star, but it's a book that has completely stuck with me, and I loved this book too. This is a 5-star for me. So basically it follows, I can't even remember these people's names. So it follows our hero named Malcolm, and he's actually what's called I think it's called a tosher or a toffer. I can't remember. Basically, they were people back in the Victorian times where they were literally like sewage scavengers. Yeah, so like they were literally people that they made a living by going into the sewers of London and scavenging for items that they could sell. But turns out Malcolm was actually kidnapped as a child, and he's like a lost Earl. And the heroine in this is named Verity Lovelace, and she is a reporter for like a really popular newspaper in London. But there's tons of sexism in her workplace, and so she's losing her position as a journalist, and in order to try and secure her position, she's looking for more evidence concerning this lost Earl, and they find each other, and things kind of go off from there. This is kind of like enemies to lovers, like Grumpy Sunshine. I love that on this cover, this hero looks like Wesley from The Princess Bride, and that kills me. Yeah, it was really good. Christi Caldwell, so I don't know if it's the same for like the rest of her books that she's written. I haven't looked at like her backlist or anything, but this series is pretty low steam. Like there's tons of like chemistry and like build up and heat between them, but not actual like scenes, if you know what I'm saying. So if you're looking for kind of like a low steam but really wonderful like love story that kind of has like it's kind of like dark romance too, then you'll definitely enjoy this series. I can't wait to read the 3rd one. That's actually on my TBR for next month. The next book that I read is another historical romance. I believe, yeah, it was the last historical romance that I had read for the month, and this is Ravishing the Heiress by Sherry Thomas. So I read this for the Rake Appreciation Society, which is a book club that is hosted by Jen from the Book Refuge and also Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. I'll link their channels down in the description as well. Yeah, so it's one of my favorite book clubs, and this was the January pick, and I gave this a 5-star. I really enjoyed this. This is a super angsty historical romance. So it follows our hero and heroine. They meet at a really young age, and they're basically like betrothed to each other. They have this conversation where they basically developed an understanding where, since this is like a betrothal marriage, there's no actual love between them. And so the hero and heroine agree to hold off from trying to consummate their marriage for at least, I think, like 8 years. And yeah, but what the hero doesn't know is that the heroine actually basically fell in love with him at first sight. However, the hero, he's basically really upset because he's in love with another woman, but because of his social class, they can't marry since he is a titled, I think he's an Earl. Yeah, I believe he's an Earl. And yeah, very angsty. The book alternates between different timelines. Like it starts, you know, whenever they first meet whenever she's like 16 and he's 19, and then it goes to like present day and it switches back and forth, and it's basically like this really beautiful friends to lovers romance. But yeah, it's super angsty because your heart just breaks for Millie, the heroine, having to see her like hide her true feelings for him because he, you know, she still thinks that he's in love with his lost love from whenever they were young adults. And yeah, very, very good. It's a 5-star. The last of the historical romances that I read, I forgot to mention, but I actually participated in a readathon this month. I participated in the romance takeover readathon. I had put 4 books on my TBR and I only ended up reading 2. But so Ravishing the Heiress was one of them, and then I had 3 more that I did read everything that was on that TBR. I just didn't finish it in time for the readathon. So, the next book that I had finished, which I had read for that readathon, was Smash and Grab by Maddox. I listened to the audio for this on AnyPlay. Y'all, this is crazy. This is a paranormal romance with dinosaur shifters. Yes, it is cuckoo crazy. It's also a gay romance, so you know, it's like two male characters. It was so good. I rated this 5 stars. This book was so fun. It's a pretty quick read too. I think the audiobook is only like 5 hours long or something like that. And basically, I can't remember the characters' names, but it follows this paleontologist professor, and he's working on this dinosaur egg, and these group of men come in and they're trying to steal the egg from him, and all of a sudden this like punk man with a bubblegum pink mohawk comes in with a bat, and he rescues the guy, and he's like, look, I'm taking you and this egg and we're gonna go deliver it, and I'm gonna like you know, make sure nothing bad happens to you or this egg. And it's this really crazy romance between this punk guy and this professor dude, and the punk guy is actually a dinosaur shifter. Yeah, it was super fun. I love anything having to do with characters that, you know, like in a romance, having 2 characters that look and behave very differently. So you have this like very straight-laced, proper kind of timid professor man, and then you have this like super crazy, very open and honest like punk guy, and he's a dinosaur shifter. Yeah, I don't know, it was super fun. There's only, I think, 3 books in this series so far, and they all have to do with like these gay dinosaur men. I love it. I can't wait to read the rest of them. Yeah, that was a 5-star read too. The next book that I read, which was also on my TBR for that readathon that I didn't get to, but I did end up reading, was Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. So this is a mafia romance. Now, I have only read one other mafia romance. For some reason, mafia romance really intimidates me, which I guess is kind of weird because I really do enjoy reading like dark romance, like specifically dark historical romance, so I thought that it would be easier for me to get into, but you know what I just realized? I have been staring at this camera instead of down there. But yeah, so the only other mafia romance that I read was actually the second book in this series, and I believe that's called Stolen Heir. And y'all, I feel so silly. I honestly should have just started with this one because in my opinion, I think the second book is a lot darker. So yeah, this follows Caleb Griffin and Ada Gallo. Ada is like with the Ada's with the Italian mafia, and Caleb is with the Irish mafia. Ada goes to like a house party at their place, and like her and her brothers kind of like crash it. They don't have like any intention to do anything bad, but basically there's just this really weird accident that happens, and Ada basically sets their house on fire. And then in retaliation, Caleb does something really bad to one of her brothers. And so before this huge like war breaks out between these two really powerful mafia families, they basically force them to get into a marriage of convenience. Yeah, so I liked this. This was a 4-star for me. I really do like Sophie Lark's writing. I definitely think that the hype for her books is legit. I mean, I've only read 2 books so far, and I really do enjoy them. I love, like, the universe that these characters exist in. The only reason why it wasn't a 5-star is just because I'm not a huge fan of the types of personalities that the main characters have. It's not that I'm not a huge fan, it's just they're not my favorite. They're both, like, really intense characters, and, like, I like them. They were fun. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that, but no, I really, really do liked it. Or I really did enjoy it. Yeah, I really need to get into finishing this series. I know Sophie Lark has a spin-off that takes place in like a mafia college that's basically Hogwarts. I really want to get to it. And I'm starting to think that I have tougher skin than how do I phrase that? I'm starting to think my skin's a bit tougher than what I think, so definitely going to check out more of her work. Definitely going to check out more books in this series. Next book that I read that was also for that readathon that I didn't get to, but then I still read, was Torn by Carian Cole. And this is I guess it's like a taboo contemporary romance. I think I would probably put it in the dark romance category as well. It's definitely just like a taboo romance. So this involves basically, okay, the taboo element of this book is that Torrin, the hero, and then the heroine, whose name I've forgotten, sorry. Basically, Torrin is the heroine's adopted uncle and like her godfather. Bit of an age gap, and it's their romance. I know what you're thinking. That's probably making you cringe a little bit. I thought so too. The reason why I picked this book up is because I've seen quite a handful of people talk about this book on Bookstagram and also BookTube, and everybody that I have like seen talk about it, they all loved it. And I loved it as well. This was a 5-star read for me. I loved this book so much that I actually bought a physical copy, and I bought the second book in this series. I don't think there's a way for me to explain this book to get other people to understand that like what happens makes sense. So Torrin is 15 years older than our heroine. He was there whenever she was born. He helped take care of her since she was a newborn baby. Her parents were like really famous musicians, so he was helping take care of her while they were touring. And yeah, this book was just super beautiful. It's so complex. There's no grooming in this whatsoever. I was really terrified about like the possibility of there being grooming. And then nothing happens between the hero and heroine until she's, 18 years old. Yeah, I don't know. It's so complex. And it was so angsty and heartbreaking during certain times while reading. There's quite a bit of like emotional white fanging for like most of the book. It's definitely like tons of emotional white fanging during the first half of this book, which is normally something that annoys me, but it's understandable. Like I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like he has to do that in order to like try and push her away from him because of their circumstances. Yeah, I don't know. It was really beautiful. If something like that like kind of makes you like the themes of this book make you uncomfortable, but you're really into reading like darker taboo romances, or you want to get into them, I definitely recommend checking this out. It honestly blew my mind and I loved it a lot. The only reason why it wasn't a 6-star read for me is because of the ending. It has a happy ending. It was just like underwhelming, I guess. Like it was really cute and it kind of like looped everything back and, you know, like wrapped everything up nicely, but I was just kind of underwhelmed by it. But yeah, 5-star read for me. So the next book that I read was actually The Power of Ritual, Turning Everyday Activities into Soulful Practices. So yeah, this is a nonfiction book. I don't really talk about it on social media. I didn't even post about this book on Bookstagram. I'm honestly not going to go into too much detail about this book either. Just because, I don't know, sometimes I feel kind of weird like sharing certain nonfiction books that I read. I'm really into like spiritual and metaphysical things. This book isn't like woo-woo or whatever. It's basically about how little things that you do every day are basically like mindfulness practices. An example would be like maybe somebody that chooses to walk their dog whenever they get off work because they want to connect with nature even though they're in their neighborhood. That's like an example of something that could be considered a ritual for, you know, some folks. And yeah, I don't know, I loved it so much that I gave it a 6-star. Yeah, I don't know, it was so interesting. There's even like a whole chapter about ritualistic reading, like reading in a way where it becomes mindful. Yeah, I don't know, I recommend checking it out. It was the next book that I read, which was like another one of the paranormal romances that I read, was actually Carnal Secrets by Suzanne Wright. There's not much to say about this. I gave this a 3 out of 5 star. This is book 3 in the Phoenix Pack series. It's fun, like I like it. It's just not like an amazing read. The plot in this book is basically the same as her other first 2 books. So I don't know, it's just about a bunch of like werewolf shifters and like a specific couple that end up becoming like fated mates or whatever. And yeah, I don't know, there's not much to say. They're really fun to read. I like them and I'm going to continue with the series. They're just not like exceptional or exciting. Yeah. Wow, I think that was it. Was that really it? Yeah, it was. Wow. Okay, so that was honestly a shit show. I had so many issues filming this, and I'm gonna have a hard time editing this video. As y'all can see, you could hear my critters running around. You could see my ring light turning off. You could see me struggling to talk about these books. But yeah, I don't know. That's my January wrap up, guys. I didn't go into super detail about like the plots of these books, mostly because I don't want this video to be super long. But if you want, my Bookstagram username is down in the description below. I post almost every book that I read and I will review it on my Bookstagram account. So if you want more information about these books, you can find them there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just hoping that February is going to be a good month. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more books, and yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fine. But yeah, I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.